I am that I am, the Divine Trust Express, AL, doing business as Land Air Water Bureau. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without a testimony to step to. We have been busy, brothers and sisters, getting remedy out here in the world. But today, we come back with the gift from Eminem. And divine love and prayers goes out to them for having the bravery in their hearts to offer to the people a tool to teach from their living account of events that have happened after Status Ascension and court case counsel with Land Air Water Bureau. Let's get right into it. Good evening. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm great. No worries. I'm glad I caught up with you guys.
Yeah.
A lot going on, right?
Very interesting for sure.
I know you all have some stories to tell.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone real quick so me and Morgan can both talk.
Okay.
Okay.
How you doing? You there?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good as well. Good to hear your voice. Get you guys on the line. I know you all have some stories to tell.
Yeah, pretty good story. Well, I don't know if it's good or not. But, so when we got there today, first thing when we got there, the bailiff informed me that he asked if I had an attorney, and I told him no. And then he said, well, the judge is going to make you get an attorney or he's going to revoke your bond. And what else did he say? Something else. He's not going to allow you to reset the court or something. And I just said, well, I don't have an attorney. I'm not getting an attorney. And so as soon as he finished talking with me, he goes to the DA's office. Walks in there. Court starts late again. Starts like 9:45 instead of 9 o'clock.
Was anyone there? Any other cases being heard?
Yeah, they had me in the middle. There was 6 sheets on the roll, but there was only about 20 people? Maybe not even 20 people there.
Okay.
And so when they
go ahead.
They had me in the middle. I was on page 5 of like 7 sheets. So when they do get to me, he calls my name and I go up there and the first thing he says is, do you have an attorney? Or have you tried to get an attorney? And I said, I've tried to get an attorney, but none of them will sign my contract. And before I could even get that out of my mouth, the district attorney leans over to him and says, I put in a motion for psych eval on him. Yeah, motion for competency. And I said, and the judge is looking around in his papers and there's no motion. So then I said, I got no notice. And then so the judge is looking around, fumbling around, and then the DA said, I did it electronically, that's why there's no what do you say, it's not on the record. And so they fumble around, the judge starts reading, so he reads all the papers that we put in. Apparently either he was faking that he didn't know who I was, or they were keeping him in the dark until then.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Interesting.
So he reads all the papers and he looks at me and he sits back and he scratches his head for a second and he tells me to go sit down.
Do you know what papers he may have seen, or did you see what he was looking at?
I think everything. He was looking on his computer and he was reading, I guess, all the paperwork that we had put in from the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's on a computer.
Yeah, he's on his computer. There's no court reporter. There's nothing there. There's no, it's like, all they're doing is they called, he didn't even call my name correctly this time.
What did he say?
They never called it correctly. He called state versus this time. Every other time he's called state versus, which isn't the right name either, but.
Well, this is what I was saying in the email as well. Every trade name they could potentially use and jam them up that way as well. That may be why he even used a different name.
Yeah, I think so. And that was the first thing that I noticed. I almost didn't stand up whenever they called me.
Well, when they call the name, you say, I'm here regarding that matter. And if they ask, well, who are you? You say, I'm the beneficiary. I'm the principal.
Right. They don't even let you do that, though. That's the whole thing. They don't let you say anything. I mean, I was lucky to get out when I got out. And like I said, he told me to go sit down. So they're calling other cases, and while they're doing, the judge is reading we're watching him, and he's trying to look through his glasses and look at me, and he's reading. And so they're in between somebody else's case, and they're having them sign their life away and whatnot. And the DA and him are talking, and I can clearly hear them talking about me. And then the DA says, well, you handle it however you want to.
Oh.
So the judge doesn't call me like he's always called. He said, come up here.
Oh.
So I go back up there, and he says, well, I can't have interaction with you. You're gonna one-on-one. You're gonna have to get an attorney. I said, well, no attorney wants to sign my contract. He said, so you have terms and conditions. Is that what I'm to take from this? I said, I sure do. He goes, well, you're going to have to find one that will work with you and you can work with. And what else?
He also said, I understand your beliefs. And that led me to believe that he understood everything that he just read that's been filed in.
That is exactly what that means. That's a law term that means I stand under your authority.
Yeah, because then that's when he proceeded to say that I cannot interact with you one-on-one.
And I can't proceed with this case. And I just smiled big. I still didn't say anything. And he says, what did he say? He said, I'm going to reset this again. The next time you got to show up with an attorney. And if you don't, I'm going to appoint one, and you're not going to be able to have a contract with them. And I said, well, I don't need an attorney. And he said, well, you got to have an attorney. And then he pushed my paperwork over to the clerk, and that was pretty much it. But while I was putting my autograph on their paperwork, the DA went over, pretty much threatened her, tried to intimidate her, and told her that if she's helping me, that she needs to make sure I get an attorney.
And he said, I know. First he said, is okay. Like he's trying to basically say that I'm crazy. And he was like, is it okay? And I didn't say anything. And then said, well, I know that you're helping him out. So if you're helping him out, then you need to find him an attorney. And then he looked at me again and was like, is it okay? I'm like, oh, Lord.
What did you tell him?
I said, yeah, he's fine. And he walked out of the room, out of the courtroom.
But she said he's a crazy looking son of a bitch. Yeah, devil eyes.
Oh, yeah, because, well, what ends up happening is if they can't get you to take on the liability for the charge, their bonds are at stake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to pay.
Yes, he's got to pay.
No, he said that he can't proceed forward.
Yeah, he said he can't proceed forward. I smiled as big as
Right, so this is the thing. You could have pretty much, sounds like you could have got out of that today with the proper argument in regards to the compromising. That was, the judge was on.
I was afraid they were going to try to put a stock val on me, and I'm not.
That's what the DA's hollering now.
Well, remember.
Which I haven't.
Well, I just want to say, just to remember that a psych vow For whom? Can you please present your foreign agent registration statement to even speak?
I should have said that, dude.
To speak, it's been requested in the records according to the rules of evidence, and I have yet to receive anything to verify you have standing to even speak at this hearing today.
But see, they're not even calling it. I don't even know. Nothing is on the record. There is no court reporter. There is no. They're allowing people in and out of the courtroom non-stop. I mean, it is a freaking shit show. It's not like anything I've ever seen.
Right. So this is the.
Everybody.
What was that?
Go ahead. Basically, all they're doing in there is when everybody approaches the bench, all he's asking is, "Are you ready to move forward?" And then, of course, the attorney liars are just like, "We need a reset," or whatever, and then they just move on to the next person and the next person. It's really strange.
Right. So
they're just administrating the estates and getting a signature and probably writing another bond.
that's absolutely what's happening, and they need everyone's consent. They need your permission to move forward. So when we make our stance in regards to what's going on with the properties, the only way for them to move forward is to put an attorney on the estate because it's locked down. They don't have any other way to access it.
So how do I keep them from putting the attorney on the estate?
Well, this is the thing.
I was not sure about today.
They do not have the authority to assign an attorney to the case. That's what's so beautiful about it. They don't have the authorization. They need your consent to even get an attorney. You see how that just jams up their whole process?
Oh yeah. I mean,
they need an attorney. So the strategy is to know that they need an attorney in order to administrate and that the property has been claimed, then you are to make a strong statement and position that you will never get an attorney.
Okay, that's what I didn't do today, and I was like, damn, I really should have said that.
So
but I did sign as the attorney in fact, and the lady was trying to get me to sign on the defendant line. I said, no, I'm the attorney in fact.
Right.
And I signed the paperwork, by, and then my name, and then AR, and I signed it in the attorney line. So.
That works. You should have just wrote all rights reserved all the way out, though. Don't be afraid because you're you hold all the cards and you have a right to defend yourself. So they are aware of your position. So at this point, it's just a matter of defeating the process of having an attorney assigned on the case.
Yeah, it's just scary going in there. It's fucking,
I guess where it threw them off is when they were hollering,
Yeah, because I was totally ready. Yeah, I was totally ready, I thought. But when he started hollering incompetency motion, I don't think he even filed a motion. I think they're just freaking lying in court.
Yes, they definitely are. There's no court reporter. It's no one to hold anyone accountable. It's your word against theirs. It's all smoke and mirrors to get your consent.
It's 9 o'clock.
And to get your authorization in order for them to do the administration. And now it's more complicated, so they're pulling out the best of their dark magic to try to drain you.
Well, the reason it scared me is I was following this one case, and the guy he didn't have all his paperwork correct, and they put him in a mental hospital and were forcing drugs on him. He's still there. He's been there almost 5 months.
I get it, but that doesn't apply to you. You have an entirely different position. Right,
yeah, I get it. I gotta believe it,
Yes. The moment you have the confidence.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I was pretty confident today. I didn't back down from him today. I didn't cower.
Oh yeah, you did great.
I didn't say everything correctly, but
you did great. You did great. You did great.
Off today, please.
Yes, they were unable to move forward.
Yeah, and that's what he said. I can't move forward. And he let him know, you know.
And he went into this big long spiel, and the whole time I was laughing on the inside. But
Right, but
Gary standing up there.
yeah, it definitely is. It's. I mean, your life is at stake, and they know that, and so they try to get the blood from your head and put it in your intestines, in your gut, and make you fearful and weak in the knees to stand before them. But when you are equipped with the knowledge of knowing that they can't move forward without your consent and administrate the property that's judgment proof, then only then will you have the confidence to let them know this goes against everything that I hold near and dear. So you guys you can't move forward, so I'm not going to get an attorney. You can't force me to. I need to see your registration statement to even speak and bring a claim to have standing, which has been requested, and they can't move forward.
Gotcha. I need that, and that was in my, I've been working on memorizing all this stuff, and I had that ready to go too.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, your mind is racing.
They just trip you up, though. You know, it's like, even as much as I practice, I was still. Yeah, it's just different when you're in there.
Oh,
and
definitely.
You're listening to these like we sat in the hallway last time and we listened to an attorney get this lady to sign for 6 years for a petty crime, and she says, "You're a U.S. citizen, correct?" And I wanted to just jump through there and tell her, "No, you're not. You don't want to be a U.S. citizen." Right. Right. And so you're able to see through their sorcery. It's becoming more clear to you. I can see it all now. I can see it all, and it's sickening, but. Right. As a matter of. I felt like I did okay today, but I was pretty upset when I found out what they did to it. While I had my back, you know. You mean in regards to trying to intimidate her and get them to get an attorney? Just trying to basically just intimidating her, got down in her face, and I was laughing when she told me, but it upset her. I mean, I guess the guy scared her. She said she didn't show any fear, but... Right, they don't have anything. Yeah. They're pissed. Yeah, okay, good. I just want to make sure that I'm ready to start going after their asses for their fraud. Oh, you did great. I'm just glad to hear it. You did great. It sounds like you could have ended it with shutting down the whole attorney thing. And you could have simply the court... discharge with prejudice, or no? I didn't hear that. I said, could I have asked him to discharge with prejudice? Yes. Vacate with prejudice? Yes. You don't ask, you demand. I have the title paperwork to being administered with the county, which is a totally different jurisdiction than you guys are operating from. And then you could have gone right into, I need the court to take judicial notice of the attorney termination letter, which barred all attorneys from administrating on this case. What are you guys going to do? You can't move forward on the property. It's been claimed. Do you own it? Or do you own it? Or do you own it? Yeah, I know. This is the title here, guys. What did you say? I got it. Yeah, see, I think I got it all, and then there's so much to learn and so much to know. The main thing to know is if you're out and about and you see someone around your land vessel, your car. Now you have the title to it, you have the insurance to it. If someone tried to get in the car and pull off, you're gonna defend it with with your life. It's my property. You can't touch it. Hands off, guys. If I need to prove it, you know that you have all of the right. Say what? I said that's what started this whole fiasco in 2018 Yukon Denali.
Oh, wow. That pushed the button,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, that's the one that started it when I caught the boyfriend driving my.
That's right. I do remember that. I do rember that, actually.
It's funny you use that as a.
That's hey.
I get it. It's
Exactly.
my property.
That's right. Look how you defended it. Look what it. You need to apply that same pressure when they administer or whatever variation of the name that they may come up with.
Yeah, they're not. They're administering my dad's estate actually, so they don't even have the right name.
Well, we need to claim that one too and go in with that. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that even after like your grandparents and stuff, you can claim their estates since they're open.
Yes, absolutely. They're abandoned.
Somebody's still administering them because I did an ancestry DNA or whatever it's called whenever I was looking at my lineage, and there's still open stuff with my grandparents' name on it.
Oh, those accounts never close. Those numbers continue to accumulate, get hypothecated from all of the derivatives that are in the name.
Crazy.
It really is. It really is. But facts nonetheless. Have you looked up the case online yet? Did you get a chance?
Today's? Yeah, they didn't put anything into the case today yet.
Okay. Well, sounds like you did good.
I mean, they put it off for 6 weeks, so hopefully I can get my passport by then and
right.
work
So
on.
yes, definitely. So now it comes around to just defeating this whole attorney thing. But you already have what you need to even win that argument already filed into the court. You could have just read off of that actual document.
I didn't even take any documents in with me because, I mean, I had it all memorized. I knew asking for the registration statement. I mean, I've gone over it over and over. It's just I froze up a little bit, but I did manage to get out that I knew this before we started talking with you about the, your power of contract's unlimited, and, if they won't sign your contract, and the guy said there's only 3 things on his contract, I can make my contract whatever, but
Who said that?
the judge almost asked me what was in my contract, and I was waiting for him to. I would have had it for sure then, but
Right. I mean, but you took a lesser ground. You took a lesser position saying that no one would sign your contract.
Gotcha.
The contract requires willful consent. So you're not requesting for them to do something for you. That's a lesser position because everything we put into that court is sui juris. Sui juris is of your own right. You're your own free man. So no one can compel you to do anything. So to say that they won't sign your contract is like you're soliciting them for business.
Gotcha.
We aren't soliciting them for business because we already know who they are. And it's a conflict of interest for them to represent private property because that's what makes it public. Yes. He was telling you that they cannot move forward based on this evidence that you just deposited into the court. And the only way for them to do that is if they are somehow able to position themselves as some fictitious authority with a fictitious ability to put an attorney on the property, which they do not possess. They do not possess the power. So once you're able to convince them that you'll never get an attorney and that they do not have the power to even put an attorney on the case, that's when they finally buckle and just dismiss the case. We just had this happen about 2 weeks ago for a guy facing 20 years actually for weapons. He was a so-called convicted felon, and they allegedly had some weapons they tried to put on him and give him 20 years for 2 guns. But he went back and forth with them about this attorney thing for about 6 months at about maybe 4 different hearings. And he finally was, they finally got the picture, and they actually assigned a so-called public defender to help him. They had the guy come in and sit next to him in court and everything. He had to say, this guy, he doesn't work for me. I don't know why he's sitting here, and I'm never getting an attorney. So they had another hearing, and then the last time he was in there, they met up in the lobby. The guy walked over to him and he told him, I never authorized you to represent me or the property, and it's no way that it's ever going to happen. So he said, you know what? Okay, I got it. Just hold on just a minute. So he walked over to the district attorney and came back and told them, okay, they're going to dismiss the case. No evidence, no going back and forth about any of the things in the police report, no pleading, no entering a plea, none of it. In fact, the district attorney's office said, because they brought in a new guy after we made the deposit, after the Status Ascension, because he was still working on his process while the case was ongoing. So we didn't get to file documents in until significantly later. But they brought a new district attorney in after we made the deposit, and he said, I don't even know why this case made it this far. If this would have come across my desk, I would have dismissed it a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I said, I don't understand why they're still going, because I'm ready to get the IRS termination on them and then fucking start throwing them to the IRS and let them deal with them. I think they just been running this shit show for so long, they're not scared.
Well, they're not scared until they know you mean business. And the only way for them to move forward with that case is to get an attorney to represent the property.
Yeah. I mean, the judge came straight out and said it. I mean, he said, we cannot move forward if you don't have an attorney. And I just smiled as big as I could smile.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
But, I mean, then he continued on, blah, 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 until he said, I'm going to appoint an attorney if you don't have one. But I'll just keep throwing
You left the door cracked. You left the door cracked and gave them more room than they should have been allowed in regards to thinking that your mind is somehow undecided on this attorney thing.
Yeah, it was. I did leave the door open. I should have. I'm going to take my documents with me and just read off the documents if I can't remember it when I'm standing there.
Man, I commend you on standing your ground, getting there, and those guys even feeling compelled to even give you some of the jewels to go along with the process and letting you know that you're being victorious. And this little obstacle with the attorneys, that should be, that shouldn't be difficult. Even if we have to go as far as depositing the actual records from the corpus juris secundum where it says what an attorney's position is. It literally says in there that yes, you're an officer of the court.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yes. That's a conflict of interest.
It's funny that the DA and the judge can talk in open court about me when I'm in ears right. I was sitting on the front row, so I could hear what they were saying.
Oh, you're on their mind. You shook them up.
Well, do you think the judge hadn't seen the paperwork?
It's possible.
They hold that stuff from him because he acted. I mean, he was visibly shaken up. I mean, when he read it, when he was in the middle of the other case, he wasn't even listening to the attorney
Yes.
And then he would look up through his glasses at me, and then he would go back to reading. I'm like, holy shit, man. I tapped a couple of times, and yeah, we might have them.
Oh, yeah.
Because I said today I was going to try to end it, and I froze up.
Well, their curveball was.
Yeah, the curveball was definitely that they were going to try to get a stock eval, and all I could think to say is I got no notice of anything put into the record. That's all I could think of.
Well, that's good enough because, yes, they have to put you on notice. If they put something like that in the mail, it's over. Please, stop it. That was kind of weak magic. I mean, it was effective, but there's rules to procedure. They don't get to just put psychiatric evaluations on people.
Yeah, exactly.
The judge can't even...
Oh, yeah, they kept trying... They're going to revoke my bond. That's what the bailiff said. The judge is going to revoke your bond if you don't have an attorney. See, this whole thing, they knew I was coming. They had the bailiff have a little script to go over with me.
I was just going to say, I mean, I didn't want to cut you off in the beginning, but a bailiff giving legal advice?
Exactly. And I was laughing so hard. And then he goes straight in, when he quits talking to me, he goes straight into the DA's office to go over there and tell him. I told him. I mean, I could just hear him in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they asked him to do that.
Oh, yeah. It was so obvious, though.
Oh, they're getting their ass kicked. I love it.
Yeah. After I freaking kicked that fucking attorney's ass over in the fucking little baby court, I whipped his fucking ass in open court.
Yeah.
On the divorce.
Right. I didn't get to hear that story.
Complete fucking idiot. Huh?
I said I didn't get to hear that story either.
Yeah, I made him look like a complete idiot. They did a whole show on that one too, and I kind of messed up, and I didn't stick with everything because my ex was there, and it threw me in for a curve, and they had her on the stand when we went in there. They kept us out in the hallway for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then so we walk in there, and she's on the stand, and they're saying, well, this hearing's 30 minutes, and you get 30 minutes, and so I just went with it, and I didn't even have a freaking pin when we went in there, because that's not what they said it was going to happen. So they go through they had practiced what questions, and she had answers, and she kept on answering more than what the questions were, and I kept objecting, and
the judge kept saying.
Yeah, I mean, I totally whipped their ass, and then I got to cross-examine her, which was the best part of the whole thing. Caught her in like 5 or 6 different lies, and they had a court reporter on this one, so it's all on the record.
Wow.
But she was not too happy when she left there.
Yeah.
The judge did not grant any of their motions. They sustained everything I asked for, and he said it's all going to be settled in equity because he's already seen the deposit, even though we sent it to the wrong place.
Right. He's seen the deposit to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Everything we deposited into the case is in equity. The certificate is already null. It's null and void.
Right.
Everything there was an illusion.
Say that. I told that court coordinator. I said I want the annulment. What did I say?
I requested for the annulment. Or I forgot.
No, I said the annulment, but I said it's. I want a court and satisfaction on the annulment paperwork that I've already put in.
Right.
And she goes, "There's going to be a hearing. The judge is just late."
Oh, how
See,
convenient.
at the time, we didn't know that the paperwork had gone to the wrong place.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was so funny that I feel like I completely whipped that attorney's ass. I mean,
It sounds like it. Absolutely.
and the ex was none too happy when she left there.
Yeah. She was
Right. I read it. I read it over. It was disrespectful. I mean, come on. That particular judge may not have come out and said it as blatantly as the criminal case judge, but the same rules apply. They cannot administer the property without your explicit consent. You hold all the cards as the master of the vessel. And they know that.
And I pretty much thought that the whole little hearing that they called it, or whatever I forgot what they called it.
Yeah, he said this is not a hearing pertaining to the board. From the very beginning.
Yeah, and so I was like, then what does this mean then? What is this? And when I knew that I was going to get the cross-examine, when she was on there and I knew I got to cross-examine her, I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, I didn't even have a freaking pen, though, to write down any notes, and I still burned her. There's so much I could have burned her on. She was straight up lying on all of it. That one had a court reporter, and
were you able to say things like, she's clearly being dishonest?
oh yes, I said that. I made her admit that she
Swindled
money. I made on the record $70,000 that she wrote hot check. I said, how many of those hot checks that you wrote did you cover? Because they were saying, that I took the money from the bank account and put it in a different account, which is what she did, not me. I said, and who covered those hot checks? All of those hot checks that you wrote, who covered them for the last 18 months? I said, did you even cover one of them? And she admitted on the stand she did not. She covered none of them. So, and it was just lie after lie after lie. I caught her in, and I couldn't even make notes. But every time they would say something, I would say objection, hearsay, like they try to bring text messages in. The judge said, sustained.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
I totally waxed their ass though. And then when I got her on the stand, she kept trying to. The questions I would ask to rebut what they had said, she would try to make up other answers, and I would be like, Your Honor, she's not answering the question. Can you please have her answer the question?
Yes.
Yes or no is all I need.
Yes.
And he did. And he made the court reporter strike everything else that she said. So it was just, I had a good time. I mean.
He let us know very good.
Yeah, he said.
And said this will be handled in equity if there isn't something.
He said, I think y'all should agree upon something, but if you can, it's all going to be handled in equity. And I just smiled. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. None of that statutory crap. They had all in that paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that whole show was just for her, because I'm sure she's paid her $40 for her jury trial that she thinks she's gonna win.
Yeah, they got to keep the illusion. They got to keep it that they really have control over the society, When we really have a diversity of citizenship issue at this point.
Doesn't that just remove it to the federal court?
Yeah, I mean, we can still do that on every case, but it sounds like you can just shut it down exactly where it is. If they don't close out the case with the proper arguments, we can always move it to the federal jurisdiction and close it out.
Yeah.
So that's always an option.
And they're already defaulted too, so I mean.
They got nothing coming.
They can get a default judgment on, right?
Oh yeah.
Clean their shit up.
Oh yeah. We
Go after
everything.
Yeah.
Those defaults are common law defaults. People think that the only way you can get a judgment is statutorily, but that's not the case. We actually got about 2 million in defaults for a client. She went to the county recorder's office to record them, and they told her that they couldn't record it without a judge's signature, and gave her a code section that says that they have to record it, because you guys are already aware of the philosophy and how we put it down with the notary presentment. There's no arguing against the judgment. The notary is the judge, verifying that the packages were delivered between the parties.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to be discussed. That is the judge. That is the court. The judge can't do anything but look at the exchange of paperwork and see whether they're in default or not, and sign off on the judgment. So they tried to block her, and we're still working it. But as soon as it's filed into that court, it becomes, we can move forward with having it executed with the sheriff to liquidate their assets. Yes.
I was just making sure that's how it works.
That's precisely how it works.
That's the same thing they're doing in these courts, though, right? They're getting a default judgment, and then...
Well, unfortunately, by the time they get people to court, they're already in default. That's how it got that far.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so that's all they're doing is defaulting them, and then they do this dog and pony show and get them to sign a plea.
Exactly, and get an attorney before that. So what they do is they get people to get an attorney and not answer the actual allegation.
Yeah.
So they got paperwork against them, affidavits against the people who go in and try to talk it out in the court with an attorney, when that's not the nature and cause of really what's happening on the administration level.
Yeah. Nobody knows what's going on.
So that's exactly what brings us full circle to why they need an attorney to even administer and move forward on the property. So the court's locked without an attorney. They can't do anything but intimidate you and do what they did to try to perpetrate.
Every time she goes in there, I get more confident because in that little bit of time, I'm still putting knowledge in, and now I'm not scared of them now. Now I've met them all.
Right.
See, I didn't know who the DA was before. I didn't know what he looked like. He's a little bitty, thought-off son of a bitch. He's about 4'11".
Oh, wow.
Man,
yeah.
Yeah, beady ass.
He probably got his lunch money took.
I'm sure he's a smart man, but
he got beat up a lot. Picked on.
He almost got beat up again today.
I hear you. I hear you. Absolutely.
I'm going to be his ass in court. That's going to be fun.
Right. And you know these guys train for this, right? They spend years in law school to only get defeated by someone first time out, you know. They paid a lot of money for their careers.
Yeah. Yeah, and when he asked what I did for a living and I told him I was a cabinet maker, you should have seen the look on his face.
Oh, man, that's funny. That's good.
Yeah, that was worth the price of admission right there.
Right. That sounds good.
They haven't figured out how we come up with these documents, but...
Oh, right. Oh, exactly.
This is actually the first time we've had any interaction with any of them, because the attorney was there, and they weren't allowing me to even go in the courtroom at that point.
Right.
So this is the first time we've been in the courtroom, so...
Interesting. So you got good signs all across the board on jamming them up.
Yeah, I felt like we did. I felt like I could have closed the case, but I just froze up and got a little scared about the psychopath.
Yeah.
Now
But
that I'm getting more confident about it. I get it. I understand what's going on. I know they're just administrating the estate. I know that they're usurped their authority. That there's nobody in office. Actually, they're a private corporation. I get it. I got their DUNS number. I got the freaking CUSIS number on the cases. I'm fixing to get their IRS determination letter back. And when I got that, I'm going to put that on the record too.
you said their what? Their IRS what?
Determination letter. I'm waiting on that. Once I get that back, it shows that they're a for-profit corporation through the IRS. They're not nonprofit. That means there is no state. And when I get that back, I'm thinking I'm going to put that in the record in open court. Just so everybody in the courtroom can hear.
Based on what happened today, chances are, if or when you go back, They won't have anyone else in there.
You think they're going to pull us aside and do this at the very end or whatever?
Well, when he told us to sit back down, that's what I thought was going to happen. We were going to be the last people in.
When we basically, there was about 4 people left. And no, everybody was pretty much cleared out at that point when we called us back up there.
Right. But see, now...
They had the probation.
Oh, yeah, they had the probation.
They had the probation officer there today, which you've never seen him over there before.
Oh, wow. What?
And he came up, he had Marvin fill out his monthly report with him.
Because I haven't seen him in 3 weeks, 3 months. I've gone there, or 2 months. I haven't had to go in because of the court dates.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how if they're using that card. Because from the very beginning, I put a restricted signature on that stuff. And I answered everything NA and non-assumptive. So they've gotten nothing off that. I know they can't be selling that piece of paper as a security, so I don't know what they're trying to do with him. I think they've had him ask me questions he shouldn't be asking me before. Like, he asked me, are you going to sign a plea? He's asked me all kinds of inappropriate stuff.
Suggestive questioning.
Oh. Yeah, I said, nah, I'll never sign a plea. That's what I said.
Perfect. So the more...
I said that from the beginning. I'll never sign a plea. You get nothing. If you sign a plea, that's it.
Oh, yeah, that's your consent. You've just... With the entering a plea, you have just accepted to enter into the world of fiction.
See, we knew that, and before we hired you, we knew that and had already sent the attorney a termination letter, but we didn't realize that he had to have a motion to withdraw, and that was before what is it called, the arraignment. And at the arraignment, I was going to do the name game and everything else that I had learned. But in their own rules, it says that the defendant has to be at the arraignment. So when we filed the Form 56, instead of having the arraignment, they had the attorney put in a plea and sent me a letter saying I didn't have to go to the arraignment. It's already been pled not guilty. And I was pissed.
Right.
I was mad because I knew I was done for then. I'm like, well, you put in a fucking not guilty, I'm done for.
Yep.
Or it wouldn't even have made it this far.
Oh, they would have rolled right into adjudicating.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes people, they have to keep going back to shut down this whole attorney thing. And others just go in and, well, actually everyone, because it seems like we don't get clients able to make these positions until after they are already in a situation. So most people are getting their status ascended at the same time. Actually, everyone, now that I think about it. But the fact of the matter is that you just have to shut down their positioning in regards to having the authority to put an attorney on the case, which they do not possess. Either way, they can't do it. They don't have the authority to do it. So it's just about you letting them know adamantly and vehemently that there's no way you're going to ever get an attorney. And sometimes, yes, you pull out citations of law on who and what attorneys are and put it in their face, and they shut down and they go away finally.
He came out and said he's going to put an attorney on me that works for the state. I'm like, that's conflict of interest. How am I going to get that? That doesn't work.
Right.
I think they think everyone's dumb, but I don't know. I guess they're just used to steamrolling over everybody.
Well, it's both. Yes. So when's the next court date?
February the 3rd.
February the
I thought
3rd.
they were trying to make it quicker, but they actually made it 6 weeks out.
And what's the hearing for?
They're calling it another
They'll call it another announcement hearing, yeah.
Another announcement hearing. That's great.
That'll be the sixth one.
That means they can't move forward. And as long as things stay as they are, they can't move forward, which is equally good. It's a slower way of getting it done, but it's getting it done. And once they realize they're wasting everyone's time, money, and resources, and they've exhausted all of the tools in their trick bag, they just get rid of the case.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a lot of money they don't want to get rid of. I found out how much the judge gets and the DA gets and the attorney gets. No wonder they want to get these.
So how do you know if they've actually cashed in on that money order that being sent in?
The credits are already there. That deposit happened by midnight, the day they received it.
So they received it. I mean, how do you know?
Well, it's federal law that any cash received at the clerk's office has to be deposited to the treasury by midnight every 24 hours. And if not, they're guilty of a high crime. So what happened before on another case, that we made the deposit, it was a felony case too. They made the deposit and then they updated the website with, what did it say? Charges replaced. It said charges replaced in the district by the district attorneys. So they got the deposit. That's how we know. But then they went through this thing again with, you have to have an attorney and this and this and that to get him to come off of his position. And then eventually they got tired of the going back and forth, and he was able to convince him that he meant business, and they threw the case out. Case dismissed. So they definitely got the credits. That's why I wanted to see if they have any evidence of that on the website.
That's what I was going to tell you too. They've been doing some monkey business on the record. They that one that we canceled, the one setting hearing or announcement hearing paper that we canceled, they put it on the record, and then as a other, is that what it was? And then after that announcement hearing, they took that off the record. So then when we filed the other papers in, the notice of something, and they sent it back to us, instead of putting it on the record, she put a notice in the record, so we thought she had made it, put our paperwork in, and instead of putting our paperwork in, she put in a notice that she sent my papers back. So it looks like when you pull it up on the website, they filed my papers. But instead of filing my freaking papers in, she's put a notice in, and the only way we found out is went down there and the lady showed her the computer screen.
Because I was asking her to print it off because I wanted to know what that notice was.
So they're not even putting I'm not even sure they're putting the documents on. And seeing now that prick said that he filed an electronic motion for a stock eval, which I don't think he did. I think he's freaking straight up lying.
Oh yeah.
But
sounds like it. That's what they do.
How can they not? How are we? I guess we have to go down there and make them print out a copy of what's on the record, or what?
Well, they have to serve you notice on every deposit made into that clerk's office, because they have to give you fair notice to defend any accusation.
That's what I told them today. That's what I told the judge. Before the guy got it out of his mouth, I said I had no notice of that.
Exactly.
And then the judge didn't know what to say. He said, "Go sit down."
Right. They have to give you the opportunity to defend whatever the accusation is by paperwork before it goes into court.
That's what I wanted to say. I said, I've been sending you every notice of everything I file in. I've been sending it especially to your name.
You said that?
It cost me like that's when I was. It cost me like $20 every time I send it to him.
Did you say that, or what did they say, or?
No, I didn't get to say anything. That's what I was gonna say is I didn't get noticed. And as soon as I said it, then the judge said, "Go sit down." And that's what I wanted to say. I said, "I've been sending you every notice of everything I file in."
Right.
But like I said, they don't allow you to talk.
Right. So your position was to be more defensive as opposed to being offensive, with the full realization of what position you're actually in, to be assertive, to assert your claim.
Yeah, I get it. I need to be, even though I felt like I had it when he brought that back about, it put me on the defensive for sure.
I get it.
But it makes total sense now.
It was just a way. Yeah, the whole thing. When we sit back after and we critique what happened, it's pretty easy to see. The first interaction, the bailiff giving legal advice, trying to tell me I better get an attorney, go hire an attorney.
That's unheard of.
He's gonna revoke your bond and your probation. I'm like, how do you know I'm on bond and probation?
Right.
I didn't say it. I just listened to what he was saying. I'm like, come on, guy, you're the bailiff.
Right.
Who are you? Are you part of this? Do I need to add your name to the list?
Right. Sometimes it's best to play dumb.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I mean,
all right.
So you just kind of see where we're at. I wanted to go over it. I was a little worried about the fact about, but I get it now. The whole game is without the attorney, they can go nowhere. So
exactly.
I felt that, but you start second guessing yourself and you screw up.
Well, hindsight is 20/20, and people have done dramatically worse. You stood your ground. They weren't able to move forward. They knew you meant business. It's just the final piece in regards to that attorney thing.
Yeah, I was hoping to shut it down today. I mean, I actually practiced, and I'm going to take my paperwork next time.
Right.
I took it every other time. I never even got to talk. I didn't know I was going to get to talk today. But
well, just know that when things are entered into court as evidence, it becomes a fact before the court if it's unrebutted. So we don't just talk. We don't just say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. We produce the evidence that says it. And it's self-authenticating. That's why they can't move forward. It's authentic on its face. That means it can't be argued. They can't even talk about it. So the only thing they can do is talk about an attorney. Oh, you need an attorney.
They all know, and I know they all know it now. So,
which is good too.
That's the other thing I was going to ask you about. I know we need to finish using the kids' status ascension. They don't like much, but
Yes, definitely. We got it on the radar. We need to get that done. We're almost at the finish line, so we can just prepare it for getting it completed. Absolutely.
Yeah, because that scared her a little bit today.
Oh, they can't do nothing. They can't do nothing. But I understand the position. I mean, it can be pretty intimidating and threatening. These people making these statements, but I would take it with a grain of salt. They can't do anything.
That's what I told her.
I mean, they don't even know her name, do they?
Yeah, they know her name because she's my notary.
But they don't know she's the notary.
They know her name from the attorney.
Oh, and her going to the clerk's office probably as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Everyone, there's like 10 of the clerks, they all know her by first name.
Okay, gotcha. We definitely got that on the radar.
And she got enough balls. She went straight into the DA's office and asked for the criminal complaint, asked for the whatever else we were trying to get. And when they told her that they don't have it,
Yeah, that's when you go get an attorney. They don't need one.
Yeah. Yeah, all they have is a fake indictment in a box. And the four-corner rule in admiralty is nothing's on the page.
That's correct. That's
and
a fact.
As soon as we got that copy of that, that's the first thing I said. I said, it's in a fucking box. I didn't even know the language and all that stuff that you pointed out. But,
right.
I mean, the first thing I saw, I said, this fucking thing is not signed, first of all, and it's in a box. I said, it's not even fucking valid.
Right.
Then we sent it to like 3 different people, and they all said, this is fucking fake.
That's right. That's
and
right.
That's what they use on people every day.
Every day that ends with Y, and people are signing their life away, just like you said earlier. It's tragedy.
I mean, we sat in the hall next to a lady, and she did that. And an attorney led her down the road. It made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. It's sad. It really is. People only knew.
Yeah. I mean, everybody needs to wake up.
Big time. Big time.
So I guess we're just gonna get my birth certificate, the new one. I did have one other question though.
Okay.
She asked it. I'm gonna go down tomorrow to the bank and open up some new accounts. I've been getting some pushback on some of my accounts, and I'm guessing it's over the name. And I did an address change, and they're not changing my address at the bank for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. I'm guessing they have a bond on it or something. I put in 3 change of addresses with them. I was on the phone with them for 2 hours today. I've been to the branch twice. They say they change it, and then I go to use my debit card and it declines it.
Really?
So,
who do you bank with?
Yeah. It's First Financial.
First Financial. Yeah, so it sounds like you're mixing public and private, and they're having trouble hypothecating the instruments.
That's what I figured. And that's why they're not wanting to. Since I changed it, they won't change it to it. Basically, is what's happened. And then they put me on hold for at least 30 minutes, and then the bank officer gets on the phone and says, okay, I've got it taken care of, and then I try to use the card, and it's still declined.
Based on what you're telling me, you may be causing the credits that are accumulated on the account to be claimed.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I'm like,
So this may be deeper than we even thought. So it seems like before you just walk away, it would be definitely worth it to send something to either the CEO or the CFO in regards to a notice in regards to updating the information on the account, including the EIN.
gotcha.
So you would send them a notice of and a declaration of the, what was that?
That's the 84 number.
I still didn't hear you.
That's the 82, 83, 84 number.
82, 83, 84. Oh,
Yes.
right. So I would send them that, and I would basically send them a notice telling them to change and correct and update the information on the file, along with your declaration of nationality,
Okay.
and send it notary presentment and see what happens. Because what you would then be doing is putting them on notice that there's an owner that has come forth to claim all of the credits on the accounting, and here's a legitimate claim with the documentation from the state.
Okay. Well, that's what they're doing. They don't want to turn loose of it because then they're going to be losing all those credits. I got it.
Yes. Since the account's been opened, they would have to they would have to compensate you for the deposits that have been made.
That's what I figured was the deal, and that's $478,000 to $950,000 a year for the last 18 years.
And that's just the face value of it.
Yeah, that's not the top updated 10 times or 100 times, but that's
Exactly.
probably why.
Oh yeah, it's not even probably. In fact, I talked to a guy. He was venturing off into this banking thing and had his account set up, and he knew how to endorse the instruments to convert them into gold. So basically what happens was he was depositing his payroll checks into the account, endorsing them correctly, and when he goes to check his account online, the amount online was like 10 times the amount of the instrument. But he said every day after he did it, when he went back online to check the balance, it went back down to the face value on the amount of the instrument. And I told him the reason that you're encountering that is because the bank is being honorable on doing what they're supposed to do with the instrument, but when they make the deposit to the Treasury, by midnight, the Treasury is kicking back the equity because you aren't eligible to receive it.
Yeah, he doesn't have his SPIN number, is that what it's called? Yeah. So until he gets that,
he's going to experience more of the same. So, and he didn't even know that they have until midnight to report every transaction to the Treasury. So when I said that, it clicked, and it made sense to him based on his experience. And that's exactly what's happening with your account as well. It's the law. They have to report it. And they have to do the accounting and the administrating according to how you actually endorse the instrument and sign up and set up the contract. So you could do a modification of the contract.
that's what I need to do, because I'm just now learning about that myself, and I've always endorsed my checks for deposit only, but that isn't the correct way.
Right. Well, this is the thing, and I think I touched on it in an email. Those credits that we put on those instruments, they come from a real place. So it is offset by legitimate, credits that you've accumulated based on your commercial activity. And it is possible. Yes.
It is possible to delete it, right?
It is possible. It is possible. So we spend it just like we spend in making decisions on how much to allocate towards what.
Yeah, that's why I thought, well, they gave them a lot of money in that divorce case. A lot of credit. I know there's not money, but a lot of credit. So,
right.
I think that's why the so-called judge was smiling and happy.
Oh yeah, they're getting their cuts.
He's getting a hell of a good cut on that one, because I'm sure he doesn't see anywhere near that on his cases.
Exactly, and that's how we come into the court.
He's an ad law judge, so I know
they
don't get much equity in there.
They gotta fight tooth and nail just to convince people to get their credits.
Yeah.
They put on the illusion in the show. The whole acting thing is just to get the credit. So when we come in as creditors, as friends of the court, we don't argue. We just make deposits and set off the charge and set off the case because it's easier that way. And by the way, of course, because of you doing that and bringing down the national debt, you are due a refund for the deposit. All you need is evidence of it.
Right.
So it's making money to us.
I know. That's what I said. I sure could use some of it now. I'm ready to 1099 OID on to get some of that back.
Exactly. So everybody wins.
Like if you're going to try to Treasury.
Right. I mean, the Treasury is the final stop in regards everything in commerce.
Yeah, everything runs through them, right?
Everything by law. Every time you see any movement, commercial activity, their people estates are being administered, and it must be reported to the Treasury by midnight. It would be a good idea for you, now that you're in this position, to get familiar with the Treasury Financial Manual. And it's actually right on their website, treasury.gov.
Okay.
And I'm studying that currently myself as well to figure out a lot more in regards to these procedures and how to turn it into money. Because that's the final piece. It's one thing to shut the courts down, but when you know that you're the grantor and beneficiary and are due credits back, then that's a different thing entirely. It's just about administration at that point. And if the courts can figure it out, we can too.
I'm excited. I'm ready to end this part of it and go on to a lot better part.
Yes. Well, it sounds like you're being victorious. You're standing your ground. They can't move forward. They need your consent. That's a great position to be on. Just tell them no and give them the reasons why and the opportunity to prove to you how they can even do anything other than what you're telling them to do.
Yeah, that's the main thing, being able to shut them down when it's not one of those groups, administrating your public servant or one of those groups that somebody put some piece of law out there that said that they have the right to put an attorney on you, but
no. Even for people that are in the public as persons, they don't possess the power to put an attorney on you. They still need your consent. And the department has to be put on notice in regards to them bringing a claim. They're not even doing that.
Yeah, I read that any felony case that the State Department has to notify the citizen, and they don't ever do that.
Ever.
I mean, so that right there, doesn't that nullify the whole case in itself?
Yes, if you move it into a federal court.
Gotcha. That's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of stuff. You never know what to believe, but like you can't get equity in an at-law court. You got to move any of your. Supposedly, you can use equity in law, but
You absolutely can.
Yeah, I've heard that, and that you can get remedy in equity in law, but not at law.
You can get law at every court on the land, period. The problem is that the people aren't occupying the proper status to evoke equity.
I got you.
And once you're in the status that you're in and can prove it with evidence, then you can convert the court.
Yeah, that's the missing piece.
Status is everything. They look at standing and status all day. That's what compels performance. And you can say it out of your mouth, but if you don't have evidence deposited to prove your position, then it's out the window.
Walk right over you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can tell they were gonna try to, but he had me go sit back down, and I was in a pretty good position.
Exactly. So when people say things like that, you can't do it. You can't from that position until you get your status corrected.
Yeah. That's what I take. I take it as I hear what you're saying, but kind of like you told us to read between the lines. And when that judge started talking today, that's exactly how I took it.
Yes.
Move forward.
Yes. You have to.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Super awesome. That should take a load off a little bit, right?
It did.
They don't usually come out and say it that blatantly, too, by the way. So you must have shook them good.
He was visibly shaken. I mean, that's what I took from it. I mean, he was visibly shaken. And I was just pretty much standing there smiling at him the whole time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Awesome.
And licking the little beady DA right in the eyes.
Right. That's good. That's good. So you're going to knock them out in February, right?
I'm going to keep practicing. They gave me enough time, and then I'll have my passport, so then I'll feel like it's done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that would be the last agency to legitimately be put on notice when, in actuality, they have. Because, yeah, they know it's in the... And not only that, along with the passport application, you're going to be sending in your corresponding documents to substantiate your position. And that's just checkmate.
So we're going to send in everything with the passport?
It's all about the application, and then you have the documents accompany the actual application.
I've read that. Have you heard of the website?
No, I haven't.
That's where I first heard about the state, or the American National, where you get the American National Passport. He talks about it. He gives a template. He shows you what they talk about. They used to not give the Social Security, but then they said that they denied a passport, and so now you give them your social. So in that position, would I give them the 84 number, or
no? You give them the social. You know why?
Okay.
Because the Social Security has been put on notice in regards to your status. That's why we do it that way. We stack it up. Stack up the deck. Stack it up. Stack it up. Stack it up. And then when we get there and we come through for passport purposes, everyone's in agreement. The identity has been consolidated.
Got it.
And that's the final piece, and it's done.
So how do you prepare your other clients before they go to court? Because it's fucking intimidating going in there. I don't know, are all the courthouses like this? This courthouse is probably a couple of 100 years old.
They're not. They're not. In fact, Texas, and I was reading this when researching the case, they were saying that Texas is in a league of its own in regards to the different jurisdictions, the different courts operating in the same territory but separate. It's crazy out there.
Yeah, I heard that one lady, she does the felony part court, which is the in-law, and then they call like everything else at law. And they have 3 of those courts, and she's the clerk for all of them also, but they have 2 separate offices in the courthouse. This courthouse is a couple of 100 years old, 3 stories tall, and it's just a spooky freaking place. It's like going to Alcatraz when you go in that place.
Right. They're probably doing all type of satanic rituals at night, and all kind of creepy stuff going on.
I'm sure. Yeah, oh yeah, that was the other thing. We went to go put the special appearance in, and the office was closed. So goes over to the other office where the civil part is, and lo and behold, they're having their big Christmas party in there. And she goes up to, they all know her in there, and the her face, when she was all smiling when she saw her, her face went to a frown. She blew their whole Christmas party around into the water. That's what I said. We're famous in there. I mean, every lawyer's that comes in when we're there, they're coming up, looking
Right.
at us, talking to us. My attorney came in today and he gave me a little hint what was going to come up. He said, "How are they treating you in there?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't been in there." He said, "You better watch out for them."
Oh, wow.
And then he kept on walking. So he already knew what they were going to pull.
Right. Right.
So
I mean,
he gave me a little clue without saying it.
right, right. They don't get to see this type of stuff, you know. This just doesn't happen.
Yeah. We've made waves in our little county.
Yeah, I bet. It's a rare occasion. And it's what they fear the most, you know, people finding out this type of information. Yes. And being empowered.
Well, yeah, that's what I keep forgetting. You know, I mean, I touched on it, but I mean, have you used the 4506s to get the IRS determination?
No, I haven't used any tax forms.
Needed to?
What was that?
I mean, you haven't ever needed to?
No, I haven't ever needed to. I mean, I fortunately enough, when they ever tried to come at me with something, we pretty much had it.
Shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down.
This is just more for since they won't shut it down.
Oh, they're gonna shut it down. They're gonna shut it down. I mean, they're backed into a corner. They can't move forward legitimately without your consent. So everything is about your consent now.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be a bad idea even to deposit the estoppel into the case with the default on the sheriff department. They're talking about psychiatric evaluations and all of that. Well, I got a contract with the sheriff as well.
Yeah.
You want to get him involved?
Yeah, is he the de facto or is he working for the state?
Exactly.
No, they got dual roles as being the sheriff.
Exactly. And the problem is people don't get to exercise judgments or claims for the people because the people don't know that. People think that the sheriff department works for the state. And that's not true.
You know?
So that's why we communicate with them.
Half the sheriffs don't know. If I still want to file a criminal complaint on that son of a bitch that threw me in jail, you know, all I was trying to do was get my car. Legally, I'm the one that called the cops.
Right. Well, it's possible.
Yeah, I still want to file a criminal complaint on those two guys. I mean, Class C misdemeanor in Texas is an arrestable offense. Cussing in a parking lot shouldn't get you thrown in jail.
This is America. You can sue anyone for anything. And knowing what we know.
All I said is,
What's that?
all I said is stop the fat mother. All I told the cop was stop the fat motherfucker. He's stealing my car.
And they took and went that far.
Yeah, that's what started all this shit. I was on the phone with the ex, supposed to be. She said we were gonna meet till I get my car back, and then I drive by. There they are sitting in the sheriff's office. So I pull in. She gets out. I tell him to get out. He's driving. He drives off and leaves her in the parking lot. And I flagged down the first stop that was there. The car is registered in my name only, not hers. He's driving it. I tell him I want my car. They slam me on the ground and throw me in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. they put one charge of disorderly conduct or disturbing the peace is what they said they arrested me for. Made me bond out the next day, and then added a charge of like 2 or 3 months later of assault once they knew that they had fucked up and arrested me for a non-arrestable offense. Changed the charge. I'm pretty sure they changed the. He didn't write 2 tickets, so they made the charge on go on 1 ticket. I don't know, this whole thing was screwed up.
Yeah, it's
But
coming
that
to
guy
him,
was
bro.
sitting there.
Go ahead.
That guy was the one cop was sitting there telling me that am I gonna argue the law with him? He's a cop. I'm like, I thought this was a free country. I can say anything I want. That fucker's still in my car.
Right, it is.
Yep.
Freedom of speech.
Well, not according to them. I'm not supposed to argue. I'm not supposed to talk, and I'm not supposed to argue the law with him. He's a pig. And I remember his name. He's the one that slammed me on the ground.
Yeah, you can definitely go at and after them. And those guys, they don't respond, so they just get defaults all the way through.
Yeah.
They do not respond.
That's the only guy that I want to go after, really. Cop-wise.
Totally possible. So,
I get homework to do.
yeah, I was going to say, so what's next? So next you got to get studied up and know what these attorneys are. And we can actually default them before you even get to court. But really that attorney termination letter says it all. We fired the attorney. A lot of that stuff is in there. Yes, all attorneys. He said any and every attorney.
Just the judge, too. He's an attorney.
Yep, all of you guys are fired.
And that's the funny part. These 2 assistant district attorneys work for him in his private practice. Talk about some more conflict of interest.
Oh, man.
Isn't that funny? And both of them are partners in his law firm. Well, I've got their DUNS number. I got on the Secretary of State's website and I pulled up their corporate papers and it shows who's there. That's how I know. What's that other guy? I work for him, Rob Smith, and he still got his law firm open in Texas. And he's supposedly the judge. And he was appointed by, and I did some more research, he was appointed by, and his appointment was supposed to end in 2018. And I haven't found anything that says that he wasn't elected, so how is it that how does this judge thing work?
Because they can get away with it, because not enough people are as diligent as you are with verifying people's identity, unfortunately, to their own detriment. And most are doing exactly what you witnessed today, signing their life away, taking people's authority at face value. Sad.
Yeah.
There's so many angles to this, in your case specifically, but really, it just comes down to you being able to stand your ground regarding the attorney, because all of the things that you're mentioning and all of the other ways that we have them beat, they probably would never even be heard.
Not necessary if I can fend off the attorney.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just ready for this son of a bitch to go to bed. Make this wake up and it's a gone deal. I really thought it was going to be over with a long time.
You did. It's
Once they didn't go away.
just takes a few rounds sometimes. You got them on the ropes. Definitely. Just takes a few rounds sometimes and wear them out in the long.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I said the first to leave so.
They're definitely losing. I thought they were going to call it a status hearing or something. They're not even saying that. They're still saying a announcement hearing. Right.
Yeah, I don't know what they're announcing, but
they're announcing that they have a case that they can move forward on with a plaintiff and a defendant.
I want to be the claimant.
They're not even doing that. They can't even move forward on that. That means there's an obstruction in the way. And that's what we jam them up at, and they can't move forward until they finally say, I give up.
That's what I was wondering, if they really kept the judge in the dark or he was just acting.
That's an interesting question. Because they are so drunk off power and used to winning, it may be possible that he didn't even look at any of the paperwork until you showed up.
Until the day. The look on his face was pretty sure that he had not seen it, and that almost surprised me. I thought he was in on the game. But if he wasn't in on the game, then he's a damn good actor, because he truly looked surprised when he read my paperwork.
And then it's another thing also to match up what's on the paper with a person right here in front of you. It's like, oh my goodness, that's him?
Yeah. And I'm a cabinet builder.
Right. Now you're a jurisprudence scholar.
Yeah. We can go that far.
Those guys they do that for a living,
Yeah, that's they're actors. I get it, but I really did have a good time in the hat law and the divorce deal, kicking that guy's ass without even a freaking piece of paper or a pen.
It's pure spirit.
That's what Mary said. That was the Holy Spirit speaking through you, because after he finished his 30 minutes, I could remember what the first thing he said was, and then I just started talking stuff that started flying out of my mouth.
That's a movie. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I had a good time that day. I wouldn't say I had a good time today, but
You did great. A lot of people would love to hear, stories like that. They don't get to experience it. And it's pretty much set. It's just a matter of sealing the deal.
yeah, I had it in my plan that I was going to seal the deal, because I'm done messing with them. I'm ready to go on the offensive and quit being defensive.
Right. And that's the thing. When you come in next time, you know that, and you'll have all of the information you need to execute.
Yeah. And the confidence, that's what it takes.
Right. The confidence. But the confidence comes in knowing. When you know like you know like you know, that's what confidence is. Unwavering faith, because you know better.
I'm getting there.
At God's speed. First time out, that's amazing. It's definitely amazing. Well, I'm not going to hold you guys. I'm going to get back to the tribe and call it one. It's later where you guys are.
Yeah, it's 11:30. I appreciate it. I appreciate all this time.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we do it for.
Hopefully there's a big magic number on it for all of us.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're working at. That's what we're working on and at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I think if everybody really understood what they're doing, that's the only way. But nobody cares. It's like everybody's asleep.
Well, people just don't care until unfortunate events like what happened to you and I with being attacked by the state. Do you really pay attention?
Yeah, I was guilty of it myself. I mean,
Unfortunately.
you think you know what's going on, but then reality slaps you in the face.
Exactly. And then from there, it's a whole new world, whole new understanding.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you get off here. I appreciate it. I guess we're going trying to figure out our shut down the attorney deal. We're going to work on the DC and the passport.
Absolutely. Coming right up. I got it right here on my desk.
Awesome.
Yes. Absolutely. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Good night.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure. Talk to you all soon. You take care.
Thank you.
Peace.